Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to How to Be a Successful School Certifying Official with Dennis Renner. Dennis is a member of the Pennsylvania Department of Education and is a Veterans Education Advisor. He is responsible for the approval of programs at colleges, universities, hospitals, proprietary schools, vocational technical schools, cosmetology schools, barber schools, correspondence schools, and flight schools. That's a lot of schools. Secondary schools, industrial and business establishments, licensures, and certification agencies and business organizations assigned each year. He has been with the Department of Education since May of 2015. Prior to his current assignment, he was the certifying official and Veterans Benefit Coordinator for the University of Pittsburgh from February 2011 through April 2015. He was responsible for processing the education benefits for over 400 veterans each semester in accordance with federal and state guidelines. Dennis is a product of the GI Bill himself, using it for his own education. Dennis retired from the U.S. Army after serving 24 years on active duty and completing 3 tours in Iraq. Thank you for your service. His favorite duty assignment in the military was when he served as a drill instructor at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Dennis has been married to Beverly for the past 30 years, and they have 3 children, Dennis, Mary, and Sean. Dennis had asked that you save your questions until the end. And welcome, Dennis, and thank you.
All right, thank you, Jenny, for welcoming me. This is my 3rd year doing this presentation to the FAFSA folks. First year was in person at Hershey. Last year was online, and then unfortunately, again, we're back online again this year. Hopefully next year, if we do this again, we can be back together in person. So what is a school certified official? I wish I could reach out to you and talk to you a little bit more. Some people have about 6 months, and some have about 15 years doing this. So we have all different levels of experience. From last year's findings that talking to the certified officials who attended this. So there's all different types of levels of experience that we have. School certified official, and again, I'm speaking to you today as a member of the state approved agency, but I'm also speaking to you from my school certified official experience. You are the face of the VA. Everybody always thinks you are the VA, which you're not. What are your duties and responsibilities? And I like to say the school certified officials are where the rubber meets the road. You're the ones who gets the face time with the students. The VA, the state approved agency, we're the people behind the works. But it's a team effort between the VA, the state approved agency, and the school certified official to get the veterans the benefits they deserve. When things go great, the VA gets the credit. When things don't go great, the SCO gets the responsibility or gets the blame when things go bad. It's just the nature of the business, because they can't yell at the VA, but they can walk in your office and yell at you. Sorry, it's like that, but that's just how it is. Today's focus is hopefully to help you be a successful school certified official. Joni talked about this a little bit already, but I was a certified official for about 6 years at the University of Pittsburgh. Each term I had about anywhere from 420 to about 425 students that I had to certify. So I was pretty versed in VA once with all the changes, amendments, adjustments, terminations, so on and so forth. So if you ever get stuck and you need help on VA once, if you want to reach out to me, I can probably help you out. Currently, I work with the state approved agency. Been there for about 7 years now. Very happy with it. My area of responsibility is basically everything Harrisburg West. There's myself, Emily Butler, which is the office supervisor, and Jessup McChesney that is responsible for that area. So there's only 3 of us. And then east of Harrisburg is the Harrisburg department, and they have 4 education advisors. And that's how the state is divided up. And I'll have everybody's contact information at a later slide. Our overall job is we are responsible for approving schools to use the GI Bill and then approving each individual programs at the school. That is our main function. We do a lot of other things, but that is our main function, is approving the programs and approving the schools to be able to use the GI Bill so the veterans can attend there and use their education benefits that they have earned. What are some of the challenges that you face? How many of you wear different hats? You're not just a school certifying official, you're a financial aid director, you're the register, you're the consulist, and the SO duties that you do are usually just in addition to these jobs. And honestly, it's your third or fourth job. It's not your number one priority, which I totally understand. How many schools have just one certifying official? I recommend you always have a backup. I've had a couple calls over the years where, hey, I'm getting ready to go on maternity leave, there's nobody here, or I'm leaving, I just got a new job and I'm leaving this school and there's nobody to take over, what do we do? So I always recommend schools have a primary and at least one alternate, somebody they don't have to be fully trained as good as you are, but they should be able to step in and do the functions of the school certifying official. If you don't have one, I recommend you think about getting someone. Conduct training. I remember when this first came out, the young lady told me, she said, I've been doing this for 25 years and now you tell me I have to do training each year. Yes, sorry, that's just how it is. It's one of the new changes that went into effect with the Harry-Comrie Act. You got to do the training every single year. Last 2 years, we've had the Harry W. Comrie Act that had 32 provisions, which is changes to the GI Bill. And then on top of that, now we have the Isaac and Rowe provisional changes that went into effect. Some changes went into effect right away, and some won't go into effect until 2022. But the bottom line is, as soon as you learn it one way, it's probably going to change. There's been so many changes for you, for me, for everybody else involved in this process, and we just have to keep learning. It's not a job that's going to stay the same. It is a fluid job. It's constantly changing. New guidelines, new regulations, new updates from the VA coming out that we have to now do it this way. I wish it wasn't like that, but the fact is, it is. You got to stay flexible. One of the other changes is reporting by zip code. That was a lot of fun when that first came out. Any place a student is actually doing the training, that is where they get the MHA payment for. So if they go to school in Erie and they drive down to Pittsburgh to do their training, they would actually get the housing rate for the Pittsburgh area, which is higher. So in some cases, it would benefit the student, and in some cases, it would hurt. If the roles were reversed and they lived here in Pittsburgh, but they attended training up in Erie, they would get the lower housing rate. So it's a mixture of good and bad. But I can tell you overall, I think most of the provisions were benefiting the veteran themselves. Workshops. I'd ask you to raise your hand who's been to any of the workshops, but I can't see you, but I see Melissa waving. But every year we used to do workshops where we'd come out and do training a couple times a year. And we would do updates with you. We would do the training. And unfortunately, the last 2 years, we have not been able to do them. So what I recommend you do is do what you can as far as attending the VA webinars. They'll call them the office hours in September. Attend events like this one. Attend like the NAPA conference, a VICO conference, if you can, to stay up to date and get the information. Check the GI Bill website, look for information, and just try to get all the information you can so you can be aware of the changes when they happen. For our workshops, and I'll cover this a little bit later, but I'll give you an update. We do plan on doing them again at some point. The reason we're not doing them now is because, one, a lot of people in one room and a lot of people ain't comfortable with that now. And honestly, we just don't know how many people would show up if we try to have a workshop now. So we're probably not going to have any scheduled until this is all over and we get back to normal. So again, just try to do what you can. Stay active. Don't wait for somebody to call you and say, hey, are you aware of this change? Seek out the changes. And that's probably the best advice that I can give you. Regulations, different chapters. Everybody's familiar with those. What is needed for a school certifying official to actually sit down and do a certification? Class schedule. You're going to need a student's class schedule. Use determine the number of credits that the student is taking. The student ledger. The wording is the actual net cost. You have to determine what is the actual net cost. What amount of money do you certify to the VA? After scholarships, it is refundable, non-refundable scholarship, grants, FIA, loans. What do you take in? What do you take out? EAP, where the classes are being taken in the zip codes. All that is used to determine the actual net cost that you're going to submit to the VA. And now SCOs are required to do dual certification. I'm pretty sure everybody's aware of it, but just in case you're not, dual certification is where you submit the number of credits that is being taken and the term dates. And then after your add drop period, you go in, you amend the certification, and you add the tuition fees. Double your work. The VA has now doubled your work by doing this. In a way, it's a good thing, and here's why. Right now, as you know, with one of the other changes is all debt now, but not all, not the housing and books, but any tuition debt is now the schools have to pay back to the VA, and then the school has to settle the debt with the student. I'm sure you guys love that. I'm sure it's creating a lot of havoc and tension at your school, because you might have students that owe money, but they're trying to register for another term now. So that's an internal issue with the school, between the school and the student. But hopefully by doing dual certification, you wait until after the add drop, do this dual certification, submit the tuition and fees, will cut down on the debt and try to keep you out of that situation. If a student's there for 14 days and then they drop out and you haven't charged tuition to the VA yet, when you submit the termination, the only thing the students got to pay back is the books and the supply stipend for those 2 weeks. But the tuition, if it wasn't reported, it won't create a debt for the school, which is good. Other factors: is your school a private or a public school? If you're a public school, you have no tuition cap. If you're a private school, you have a cap. The term cap is $26,042.81. Luckily, I was at Pitt, which is a public school. I know you private school certifying officials, you feel like you have to have a doctorate in mathematics to figure out what was the cap, what was paid, what the yellow ribbon amount is, so on and so forth. With the yellow ribbon program, each year you have to apply for the yellow ribbon. It is a window of, I believe it's March 15th through May 15th. If you don't make any changes to your yellow ribbon program, it is automatically renewed. But if you make changes, then you have to submit a new application. For a student to receive the yellow ribbon payment, they must be at the 100% benefit level. Where I see a lot of students, if they're at the 90% and they go to a private school, and let's just say your tuition's, $26,000 for the fall term, come the spring.
Wait, could you hear me?
I heard you.
Come the spring, the only thing the VA is going to pay is $42.81 because they're not eligible for yellow ribbon, and that's the only amount that's left on the cap. So that's one of the downfalls of if a student chooses a private school and it doesn't have yellow ribbon. Hopefully they are at the 100%, and hopefully the school does participate in the yellow ribbon program. Once the tuition cap is reached, the difference is split between the VA and the school. The VA will pay half and the school will pay the half. Some schools have it where there is no cap. Some schools have a dollar amount limit, like they're only going to pay up to $10,000. And some schools only have, or they're only going to do the first 10 students. Some schools have an unlimited. Luckily, when I was at Pitt, it was unlimited. Any number of students could use it, and it was 100%, regardless of what the cost was. They agreed to do it. But it's up to the school. When you work out your yellow ribbon agreement and you sign the paperwork, you got to have that information, what your school is going to do, how many students, and what's the dollar amount that they're going to participate in. Some of the best practices, and again, this is for me when I was a school certified official. Ask the VA. Formerly, it was ask a question, and I always like to submit a question to the VA. And the reason being is because you would get a written response back, and you could print that out and throw it in the folder. So come compliance survey time, if I came along to do a compliance survey and I look at the student's record and I say, hey, why'd you do this? And you pull out the sheet and says, well, because the VA told me to, and you show me this record, like, well, good answer. That's what the VA told you to do. That's what you did. It's not, it won't be an error then. SCO hotline. Write this down if you don't have it. I recommend using it. I swear I used it almost every day, calling the VA about something. When you call it, they're going to ask for your name and your facility code to verify you're talking to a school certified official. You actually get to know some of the people when they call. They're like, hey, Dennis, is this you again? I say, yep, it's me calling again. E-benefits premium accounts. How do you encourage all your students to get an e-benefits account? The reason being is anything that a student comes to you for, They can probably log into eBenefits and see. They can see when they're getting paid. They can see how much they're getting paid, how much benefits they have remaining. Everything they're going to come to you and ask you for, they can sign up for an eBenefits. It's free. And everything that they would ask you, they can find out right online. Last one there, share ideas and solutions with other school certified officials. I call it the battle buddy system. When I was a school certified official, I had a battle buddy that I could call her. She'd answer questions. She'd call me and I'd answer questions. Find a school similar to yours that's in the area, call the SCO, make friends with them and say, hey, do you mind if we bounce stuff off each other? Because if you're having an issue, I guarantee you're not the first person to have the issue. If you're having a debt management problem, something along those lines, call your friend, ask them and see how they handled it. It might be an easier solution. They've already encountered this problem and they worked it out. So reach out to other school certified officials to help you also. Work studies, if you can, employ work studies. I know right now with COVID and being in person, it might not be a good thing, but if you can have them and you employ them, I highly encourage. I think I had 7 when I was there. They're paid by the VA. They're not paid by the school. They're paid a minimum wage, tax-free. So it's like a part-time job for them while they go to school. The student works in the office doing VA and certification support. Anything, they can do your filing, they can do copying, preparing packets, anything like that needs to be done, answer phones and handle walk-ins. And this will leave you as a school certified official to do your actual certifications, which you should be doing and not spending time on everything else. Must be at least 3/4 time if you're going to be a work study. And you can work up to 30 days prior and 30 days after the last day of the term. I heard that might be changing. I don't know right now what the current policy is, but I heard that might be changing where they could actually work longer too. Resources, what do you have available to you to help you do your job? The SCO handbook. The SCO handbook should be the first place that you turn to. I know it's online now, and I can tell you I'm not a big fan of the online version. I like the paperback copy where I could do a quick search and find the information that I need, but it is there online. That should be the first place that you turn to. VA once. VA once seems to scare a lot of people. The only thing I tell you is the more you use it, the easier it'll become. There are slides out there. There's an exciting, I think it's 122 PowerPoint slide training that you can get right off the GI Bill website under the education tab. If you need to reference the VA1 slides. They are pretty good. There's pictures, diagrams, everything. So if you need help with VA1s, you can reach out to them. And like I said, if you need to, give me a call and I can probably help you out too. Organizations such as PASFA, NAPA, and AVICO. Right now, this week, there's a NAPA conference going on. It's a week-long conference. It's an organization of all school certified officials. And all the presenters are usually folks from the VA, ELRs, cellos, and they're presenting on various topics and all the changes and everything that's going on. That is actually going on this week. And prior to this presentation right now, I was actually sitting in on a debt management class. And also today, there was actually people who work for congressmen and legislators that were giving us updates of things that are coming down the line as far as changes of the regs, so on and so forth. So that information is out there. If you get a chance to attend these conferences, suggest you do. Like I said, this one's online, but they do offer in person. And again, you can use your reporting fees to pay for your travel costs and to attend these conferences. You can use that money to pay for these, for you to attend these functions. Tracking systems. You cannot possibly, if you have 400 students, keep track of every single student. You're not going to know when they add classes. You're not going to know when they drop classes. You're not going to know when they get a scholarship. You have to develop some sort of tracking systems. When a student changes a schedule, when the school changes schools. At the University of Pittsburgh, I had University of Pittsburgh, but inside the University of Pittsburgh, there were 16 different schools, and there were about 10 different costs of tuition. So if a school, or excuse me, a student went from the College of General Studies to the Swanson School of Engineering, the tuition changed. That's something a school certified official would need to know. When a student receives a refundable or non-refundable scholarship, they're not going to tell you when they do any of these things. From my experience, they're not going to come tell you. You might get one or two that come tell you, but the majority will not. It's just they're busy. They don't, as long as they're getting paid, they're pretty happy. And they're not going to come tell you, hey, I added 3 credits to my class, or I dropped 3 credits and now I went from 12 to 9. And I understand it might affect my housing, but I don't want to tell you because I don't want the lower amount. But it's something that you have to report. Compliance survey. Everybody loves compliance surveys. I think I am the only person in the entire state of Pennsylvania who has been through compliance surveys and actually conducted compliance surveys. Last year, I can tell you we did compliance surveys remotely. I can tell you that it is a lot of time and effort on the school certifying official, because to do it remotely, you have to scan everything to us. You have to prepare a packet, redact all the students' information, name, social security number, and send us a file on each student, and then send us a copy of their ledger, their transcripts, their acceptance letter, their application, for us to look at it remotely. This year, we are doing both remote and in-person. If the school will allow us to come do an in-person compliance survey, we will probably come out. If you allow me to come, I will come. I'd much rather do an in-person compliance survey. And I can tell you, I have 23 on my schedule this year. I have done 2 so far. Both of them I've done in person. The bad news is, even if we do an in-person compliance survey, we still need all the files electronically. So in the end, you're still going to end up having to scan and prepare a docket and redact everything for each student, because that is how the VA has us upload the information into a system now for the compliance surveys. So yes, it's going to be a lot of work for you if you have a compliance survey. Reminder, any Chapter 33 student that makes a change, it has to be reported. If you have any other chapter, you might not have to report it. For example, if you have an undergrad student who goes from 15 to 12 credits, Chapter 1606, you're not required to report that to the VA. And the reason being is those students are paid by their rate of pursuit. These students, if their rate of pursuit don't change, you're not required to report it to the VA. There's no action you need to take, and you can just move on to the next student. Only if the rate of pursuit would change. If they would go from 12 to 9, then you have to make that report to the VA. So you have to do another dual certification. Debt management, we talked about this a little bit briefly earlier, school debt versus student debt. School debt, unfortunately now, most of the debt is going to be charged to the school. The books and supplies and housing would still be charged to the student, but any tuition debt will now be charged to the student. And the VA is asking that the school refund the money back to the VA that is entitled. In the past, that's not how it was done. It was a student debt. They would have to settle the money with the VA, but now the VA is going to ask the school to settle a debt. Even when a student makes a change and they're the ones who initiate it, and they go from 12 to 9, so now they're, instead of a flat rate, they're getting charged, and now the tuition is probably about $2,000 less. The VA is going to send a debt letter to the school, and the school is going to have to pay that back, and then the school has to settle that debt with the students. I don't know if I agree with it, but it is what it is. That's how the law is written now, and that's what schools have to go by. And I know it makes it tough on school certifying officials. Advice. And again, this is me talking as a certifying official, not as a member of the SCA. But every time I do a compliance survey, at the end of the compliance survey, I meet with your boss, your supervisor, the campus president, and I ask them to always allow the school certifying officials to attend any training events that they can to stay current with the regulations. Things just change way too much for you not to try to stay up to date. Talked about having a backup school certifying official familiar with the certification process. Develop a standards operating procedures. Is there anybody out there who, when you were hired, you were told, hey, there's your desk, there's your laptop, there's an SCO handbook there, good luck. Didn't know what you were getting into. I got a call one day, it says, hey, I'm the new financial aid director for so-and-so university, and I've been told I'm also the school certified official. So I just got a question for you. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, well, what's a school certified official? So what happens out there? If you had a job book or something that you could hand to somebody as you're walking out the door and say, here's everything you need to know, it would help them out immensely. Not required to do it. I did it when I left Pitt. And I know the school certifying official that took over for me, he referenced it a lot and he greatly appreciated it. And if something did happen where you hit the lottery and had to leave suddenly, somebody could pick that book up and hopefully be able to pick up from there. Other resources, the ELR, Education Liaison Representative. For those of you who don't know, we actually have 3 in the state of Pennsylvania now. Your SAA, there was 3 of us in Pittsburgh and I think 5 total in the Harrisburg office. We do not have a Philadelphia office. And I want to talk about this real quick. If you're interested in working for the SAA, we are hiring. We have a position that is open in Philadelphia. It is a remote position, but the schools that you will primarily be working for is the Philadelphia area. But it is a remote position, which means you'll be working from home, doing just like me, a veterans education advisor. If you're interested, email me after this and I can send you the information for you. SCO hotline, highly recommend using that. Like I said, I use it almost every single day. And I have ask a question and ask a question / ask the VA. Continue to use those. Working with the SAA. We are, again, responsible for approving your programs and your facility. And I can tell you, without a doubt, the school has made this a difficult process. The VA has made this a difficult process. One of the new regulations they have, if we did a catalog update for you, did it complete all your schools, and a week later, your school comes to you and says, oh, hey, we're adding this new bachelor's program. If your school has already published a new catalog and it's online, we cannot just do an addendum any longer. We must do a full catalog update. So as long as there's no catalog that has been published or is posted on your website, we can do an addendum to your current approval. But once there is a new catalog approved and that is out and available to students, we can no longer do addendums. We have to do a full approval. Okay. So the bottom line, if you have new programs, best thing you do is just pick up the phone or give the SAA a call, give your advisor a call, shoot us an email, make us aware of the situation, and we'll take advice on what to do from there. Now keep in mind, like I said, in Pittsburgh, we have 3 of us, and we have about 400 schools. Same thing with the Harrisburg office. They have a supervisor, the director, and they have 3 education advisors like myself. So there's a lot of schools, a lot of OJT and apprenticeships. And if you could, if we are working with you and we have your school in front of us working with us, if you could get us the information that we are requesting. Excuse me. Like I said, if you have new programs, give us a call and we'll let us know if there's a veteran enrolled. If you have a veteran enrolled, it will take higher priority because we don't get their benefits. If there's not a veteran enrolled, but it's a new program, we might ask you to just wait until we do the regular update because we're working on other schools that actually have veterans enrolled in new programs. Addendums, we already talked about. Workshops, again, we talked about this. Haven't done them for 2 years. I hope to do them again, but we're probably not going to be able to do them until this is all over and we're back to normal. Summary. Job of an SCO is multifaceted and complex. Back in the day, when it was just Montgomery GI Bill, it was pretty simple and easy. And then post 9/11 came out, it made it a little difficult. And now with the Comrie and Isaac and Rowe, it seems getting more difficult, and it's ever changing. I know they talked about how many students would the ratio be for one school certifying official, how many students. The VA recommends 200 per SCO, but they can't force that. They can't make it into law. They can't tell your school you must hire another school certifying official because you have 201 veterans. They can only recommend. 200 to 1 is what the ratio is, what the VA says is about a good ratio. And thank you for all that you do. You're important to the VA veterans. Without us and without you as school certified official, the veterans will not get their benefits they earned. So here's the contact information for the Harrisburg office. I'll leave this up for a minute. Denise is the new division chief. Randy is the supervisor. And then Tara, Luke, and Steve are the veterans education advisors. Pittsburgh, Emily is the supervisor. Myself and Jessup are the education advisors. Some of you may remember John Ayers. John has moved on to another job. He's no longer with the Pittsburgh office. All right, and at that, we're going to open it up for questions. I don't see the chat, so Joni.
There weren't any questions put in chat, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, ask your question, or throw it in the chat and I'll read it for you.
Hi, Dennis. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. That was really a helpful presentation. I have a question that's kind of for you and then also for other members on the call too, just about the Isaacson and Rowe shopping sheet requirements. Our school, we have a very, very small veteran population, like 0.1%, but we use the college finance plan and we provide that to all students, but I know that that doesn't meet the requirements under Isaacson and Rowe. Do you know, or do you foresee the VA or your office developing some kind of template that we could use to maybe do a one-off or to work with our FAMS provider to get that to our students so we are in compliance?
Now, for us, the state approving agency, we don't, it's really not an issue that we deal with. We deal with the approvals, but the VA and your ELR, the ELR is the best person to reach out to and ask that sort of question, what they can get to you. The other thing I do is recommend to other schools, reach out to other school certified officials and ask them, hey, what do you use? Did the VA accept this? See if you can get something. I know, I think it's November 18th, NAPA is going to have a one-day mini conference, and one of the main focuses they're doing is for a VA once shopping sheet. This is a new requirement with section, I think, 2018 of the Isaac and Rowe, that all schools have to use this because you now have to be a principals of excellence school. And I know there was a lot of pushback from schools about the shopping sheet. And basically it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying it's kind of hard to do because it's asking for information into the future and you don't know what the tuition rate is going to be 2 years from now. So I understand it is difficult to do. So right now, no, I can't help you out and give you a template, but I would reach out to your ELR and see if they can help you out because it is a VA issue.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Another question we had, where can I find out information about schools paying the debt for students?
The Debt Management Center. If you just go on the GFL website and search under debt management, they have a whole web page. And if you didn't know this, you can actually call the Debt Management Center, give them your school facility code. They'll send you a list at the end of each quarter or at the end of each term with every outstanding debt that your school currently has.
Another question, does it seem like the VA doesn't really want to pay VA benefits with all of the changes they are coming up with?
I don't know. Sometimes it does seem like that, and I hope that's not their purpose of why they're making all these changes. I hope there is a better thought process behind it and why they're making all these changes. I hope that's not the reason.
I've been trying to get clarification on residency issues. As I understand it, effectively, the VA has pushed any requirements for residency back to the schools to delineate what the requirements are. And we just need to notify VA of this process, or do we still need to use DD 214s to make that determination?
I'm a little lost on that question. Are you talking about what credits they're taking for residency? Is it distance versus in-person training?
Krista, did you want to clarify? Out-of-state students taking in-state courses?
Where do they live? If you're in Pennsylvania and they live in Pennsylvania, they should be getting the in-state rate. Is that the question?
Well, isn't that if you're state or state related, Dennis? Like if you're a private school, then you use yellow ribbon to bridge, wouldn't you?
Yes. If you're a public school, all the tuition is paid for. If you're an out-of-state student, The only time that you should be getting charged out of state is if you have a student living out of state and they're taking distance education. There is a law that says if you live in Pennsylvania, you are charged the in-state rate. So the only time that you would have charge a student out of state tuition is if they're taking online courses and they live out of state. If you fall in that scenario, you may charge them out of state, but that's the only scenario. If your school is in Pennsylvania and you have students living in Pennsylvania, they get charged the in-state rate. And if you're a community college, they actually have in-county rate, which is actually lower than the state, and they're actually required to give them the in-county rate also.
What about if they live in Maryland and attend in Pennsylvania?
Where is the school located at? In Pennsylvania? They live in Maryland?
Yes.
Then yes, they could charge the out of state. I don't know, each state has different laws. So if Maryland has some law, I'm not familiar with it, but for Pennsylvania, if you live in Pennsylvania, you get the Pennsylvania in-state rate. I'm not familiar with the, each state's laws. Best thing to do again is call the SCO hotline or reach out to your ELR to get clarity on that. Does your school have a policy on that? More than likely they do. I would try to, research there and see if what the school's policy is first.
Kristen, did he answer your question?
She said they charge out of state if they live outside of PA. I know, like for at Pitt, whenever I get an LOE or if they have they're getting out of state tuition, then I have to email the office down in Pittsburgh and they make the person in state.
Yeah.
So that's the way we do it. And before that, we had yellow ribbon to bridge the gap.
Yeah, a lot of schools have basically a veterans policy that said if you attend our school and you're a veteran, we're going to give you the in-state rate. But again, that could vary by school and that could vary by state. But you can let your school know that at other schools, they do. If you're a veteran and you're going here, they just automatically give you the in-state rate. So you can see if that's something that your school is willing to explore.
Anybody have any other questions? Let's see.
One last talking point I want to remind everybody is the 8515 reset. If you have an 8515 waiver, the VA is doing a reset where everybody's have to resubmit their 8515 waiver. Even if you have one currently, they're doing a reset. Everybody's have to resubmit the 8515. The other thing about 8515 is if you have a waiver, you're still supposed to be doing the calculations and then only report it if there is an issue where you're in violation of the 8515 rules. But you're still supposed to do the calculations at the end of each term.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for your great presentation. I just want to remind everyone not to forget to complete the session surveys in the Whova app or on the Whova desktop version. All the presenters appreciate your feedback.
Sure, and I'll put there's my contact information again. If anybody has any questions that I didn't answer or something you didn't want to ask in public, if you want to feel free to reach out, shoot an email. I'll be glad to see what I can do to get you an answer. Or if you're interested in applying for the position that's open with the state approved agency for the Harrisburg/Philadelphia area, to email me and I'll see what I can get to provide you the information.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks everybody.
Jody.